Hello guys, good morning. My name is Ravi Kumar. Thanks for joining for today's demo. Okay, let's start with my introduction. Good morning all. Thanks for your time and joining for this demo. My name is Ravi Kumar and I'm based out of Bangalore. About my experience, I have 11 years of experience in IT industry. I do consulting, implementing and administration of Microsoft and VMware product. In cloud services, I take care of Azure Active Directory administration, Azure administration and migration to Azure, Office 365 implementation and migrating from Exchange or Google Suite to Office 365. In on-prem virtualization, I take care of VMware and Hyper-V and also Microsoft operating system, right? So Windows administration and any services running on top of Windows, I take care like AD, DNS and any other services. And also I take care of Exchange as a part of message. So this is a brief introduction about myself. And let's see about the course content, what all we'll be covering and how the training runs. So in this course, wherein there are 15 modules we'll be covering, we'll be discussing about introduction to cloud, benefits of cloud, types of cloud computing, types of cloud services, what is Azure, what are the ways we manage Azure in the module 1. In module 2, we'll be learning like what are the types of subscription, how to create a subscription, how do you control the subscription, and how do you manage your resources, and how do you work with your resources. We'll be discussing in the module 2. In module 3, we'll be discussing about creating the virtual machine, what are the different ways to deploy the VM, and what is ARM template, and we'll be seeing how to deploy the workload using the ARM template. In module 4, we'll be covering about the Azure calculator. So whenever you get any requirement, so if you want to know the estimation with the help of Azure calculator, we can put across the requirement and we can get the estimated cost. We'll be seeing that. In module 5, we'll be seeing like what is storage solution in Azure. So what are the ways you can keep the data in the cloud, and how do you access and how do you manage the data in the cloud? We'll be seeing in the module 5. In module 6, we'll be seeing like what is networking, how to create the virtual network in cloud. When you have more than one network, how do you connect each other? And how do you establish a connection from your individual computer to Azure using point to site? How do you connect your on-prem environment to Azure using the site to site? And also, how do you host your application in a load balance, right? Load balancer, how do you configure the load balancer? We'll be seeing in the module 6. And in module 7, we'll be seeing like what are the ways, how do you control your traffic flow within your Azure using the network security. So these are the topics wherein we'll be covering up on this module 7. In module 8, we'll be taking care of general administration tasks, right? Like what are the day-to-day activity we'll be performing in the Azure virtual machine, and how do you work with the storage network and the snapshot as well as image part, right? So all this thing we'll be seeing in the module 8. And in module 9, we'll be looking into the high availability services, like how do you create or host your virtual machine in a high availability mode for your high availability for your applications using availability set and availability zone. And also we'll be seeing like how do you automate your horizontal scaling using the Azure scale set. Okay, and we'll be covering on the PaaS part, like how do you host the services as a PaaS. So we'll be seeing on web application as well as SQLDB in this two modules. Okay. And next we'll be looking into the Azure Active Directory. What is Azure Active Directory? How do you create users and group? How do you control the permissions for your resources? And what is Azure AD Premium? How do you integrate your on-prem AD with Azure Active Directory? We'll be seeing in the module 12. Okay. And also we'll be seeing like how do you work with your recovery services? Okay, like how do you protect your files and folders in on-prem? How do you protect your virtual machines running in on-prem? How do you protect your Azure VM? We'll be seeing in the module 13. Okay, in module 14 and 15, we'll be seeing into the monitoring and troubleshooting. So these are the topics wherein we'll be covering in this entire training. So any questions, any doubts in the contents?
No, Ravi.
Okay, if I'm going fast or if you have any doubt, any questions, please feel free to ask me. All right, so this is about the content what we'll be covering in this training. So today we'll just see an introduction, and today I'm not able to do the practical because my Azure account is disabled. Otherwise, I would have shown like how do you create one service in the cloud so that you get an idea. Okay, and also this training content is about 30 hours. So wherein 90% we will be doing practical. So the theory part will be discussing some of the concepts will be understanding the theory, and the services will understand about the service. Then we will see how to create the services in the cloud, and also I'll be giving tasks for you guys to work and also lab scenarios to explore it. And yeah, so whatever you do in a real time, it will be the same. So I'll be helping to create your Azure free trial account where you can do your labs. Okay. So this is how the training runs. Any questions on this?
Only one thing, Ravi. So, is this 30 hours is enough to cover all these topics? Because I saw that another thing. I'm so sorry to compare. Okay, so it take more than 40 hours, 45 hours even. But this training is just 30 hours.
No, it's not like that. See, even it depends upon the this one now. So the minimum hour is 30 hours. So the labs and all will come somewhere around 35 hours. Okay. But still, if you want to learn more or in depth in that, then you can ask. So then I can take you through that. Okay, because here what will happen, we will get a different type of audience, right? So there'll be a very new to the IT industry, or they will have a experience in IT in infrastructure background, or they have a IT experience with a non-infrastructure like a different domain background, or they'll be having a non-technical background, right? So if you're able to take this load and if you want to deep dive a bit on the same services, you can ask me, we can go through it. Okay.
Okay.
Otherwise, what will happen now? Like few of them will be very new to the platform, and whatever the labs has been covered in the class, right? Even they will not be able to cover that offline. And again, diving very deep in each services, right? And also, I'm not saying that we'll be covering just a slight part on that. So we'll cover the required knowledge, what you want to understand about the Azure administration and to clear your AZ-104 certification. AZ-104 certification in the sense, like you'll have a good amount of knowledge to manage your services. And from there, the next step you can learn. Okay. All right. So when you say it's 40 hours, like the contents are same or still more contents are added to it?
I could say the contents are same.
Okay. See what will happen now? Sometime when we say the VPN service, if you take the example of a VPN services, the theory part will take 15 minutes to complete, and setting up of the VPN configuration, okay, will take another 30 minutes. but deploying VPN will take 1 hour. Okay, if you take in that way, so the duration might take time because we do the practicals here also, right? So when I say configuring the VM, so we will create a VPN. If you take that as example, once you configure a VPN, it will take time to deploy on a backend. And once you start connecting the tunnel, right? So even that will take time. So the lab obviously it will drag. So in our case also it will be running like 35 hours minimum. It will be running. So but the content is about 30 hours. What I can say. Okay, so see, another thing like when we talk about some concept here, when you want to know more information on that, you are feel free to ask me. So we will explain that. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Any other doubts? All right. So let's move on. I'll just cover the introduction slide today.
Ravi, 1 minute. Hello.
Yeah, go on.
Ravi, this Azure is for only for Windows platform only, or this Linux and AX also will be used for this other OS also?
Okay. So I'll cover your. Okay. When you say Azure is meant only to run the Microsoft related services, no. Azure is a cloud-based platform. Even we can say that it's one of your data center in a cloud, or we can call it as a software-defined data center as well. So here you can learn, you can run Windows and Linux both. You can run. Okay, you want to run a Windows operating system, or you want to run a Linux operating system? Yes, you can host any OS. And when you talk about like, is it meant only to run the Microsoft related services? No, you can run any programming language in the sense like any application with any framework, you can run it, you can host it. Okay, clear on this?
Yes.
Okay. See, here what will happen when you take Microsoft Azure or Amazon Web Services or Google Cloud, right? So all these are the service provider. So whatever you can host in the Azure, you can host the similar related services in AWS or Azure, or Google also, in the sense you want to run in Linux, Ubuntu, you can run in Azure, you can run in AWS, and you can run in Google, right? So similar way, the services you can host across, but few services, the features and other things may vary. It depends upon the service provider. But most common services will be the same. Like when you run a compute workload, it's available on all three cloud platform, the network, the VPN, or the load balancing solution, or the firewall, or the storage solution, right? So they are called in a different names in each service provider. And here and there, the features may vary and the costing may vary. Apart from that, it will be the same. But when you go to a specific PaaS service or a SaaS services in a specific cloud, it may vary at all. In a sense, like in Microsoft, when you take SaaS, Office 365 as an example, in Google, they have a Google Suite, right? So the features of Office 365 and Google Suite will vary. But the few core functionality is the same: email, chat, and file sharing services. Okay, so that's how it may vary. Yeah. Any other questions? All right. So when you talk about the certification track, so let's cover a bit on this learning track or a certification track. So this slide is a bit old when I need to update it. Okay, that's fine. So now AZ-900 is the Azure fundamental course, right? So it's an optional certification. It's not a mandatory. It's optional. If you want to write a certification, you can write or you can ignore it. And there are two main tracks, which is AZ-104 which is Azure Administrator, and AZ-204, which is the Azure Developing Solution, means developing solution in Azure. So 104, which talks purely about administration part, administrating the infrastructure, is AZ-104, and this is of course what we'll be learning in this entire training. And AZ-204 is developing solution for Microsoft Azure. It's a pure development part. 1 second, guys. My system got freezed. Just hold on for a few minutes. I may rejoin. One second, hold on. 1 second, Rajiv. So I just shared the screen. Ram, hope you can see in a full screen mode now, right? Okay, all right. So when you ask the question like you're managing the on-prem infrastructure, and now if you want to move your career as a cloud administrator, right? And will I be considered as a fresher? In cloud, yes, unless until you're not specifying any experience. Okay, but still you will be good enough in the infrastructure part, right? So how to work with the infrastructure, you'll have an idea. Okay, but still on a cloud part, you'll be learning in this content. So even you can do the practice. So whatever you do it in your real-time Azure, the same thing you'll be doing here as well. Okay, so no difference here. So yeah, so when you say on the cloud part, yes, you can be considered as a fresher, but still you will have a infrastructure experience. Okay, so here in on-prem infrastructure means which domain you are working in?
The same, whatever the, I mean, Windows, VMware.
Okay, all right. So there you'll be building a VMs on VMware and you'll be handing over to the user, right? So are you looking inside the OS like services also?
Yes.
Okay, so here what will happen? Most of the time we don't touch the inside services. Okay, like if you run a Active Directory services or a web server or any application, will not be worrying much. So we will be managing here as a the infrastructure part. Like we can say in on-prem we have a data center engineer, right? So configure the servers, deploy the OS, and hand over to the end user, configure the networking, right? So those stuff you'll be doing here. Okay.
So you mean the patching and all will not be done by us?
It's not like that. Even that depends upon the scope of management. See, when you say patching part here, right? The patching, we use a separate tool, right? So either WSCS or SSEM or any other third-party tools we use for patch management. So that is also, we can say, your application level management, right? So not on the infrastructure part. So here, those stuff will not be part of Azure Administrator scope, but still some organization may say that the servers which are hosted in the cloud, where you should be able to manage it. So that is the other side. But still, the entire content what we will be learning here will be like how do you build your infrastructure in the cloud? How do you administer the infrastructure in the cloud? So that is how it will be there. But again, it depends upon the job, right? So when you may or may not be managing it. Yeah, any other questions? All right, so we were in the screen and we were discussing about the certification part. So AZ-900 is an optional one. So if you want, you can write or you can ignore it. So 104 is the one what we are learning here, which is Azure Administrator. So here we'll be learning complete infrastructure management in the cloud. So we are not developing any application in the Azure Administrator. So we may require some coding experience or coding knowledge to manage our work in a easier and better and faster way. AZ-204, which talks completely about the development part. So if you're looking on a developing solution in the cloud, then you can opt for AZ-204. So this is purely for development for the services in the cloud, right? So these are the two tracks what you can see in Azure. And also you can see other tracks as well, like AZ-700, which talks purely networking. And here also we'll be learning a bit on networking. And also AZ-500, which talks about the security part, right? So there are different other tracks to learn. Okay, suppose if you're looking for a DevOps, so AZ-104 is the one what you need to learn, or 204, then plus AZ-400. So this is how where you can have the knowledge of Azure DevOps engineer expert. Okay, and if you are interested in DevOps, 104 plus 400 or 204 plus 400, this is how you can do. Or if you are interested to enhance your skill to an architect level, after 104, you can learn AZ-305. Okay, so if you learn 104 plus 305, then you will be certified as a Azure Solution Architect expert. Okay, so this is the learning part in Azure. Any questions, any doubts on this?
Ravi, I'm currently working on SAP HANA administration. So if I learn this and the Azure DevOps, how it will be for my career growth? It will be okay.
So you are planning to make your career in a SAP, or how it is?
That is what I'm not sure yet, but I just want to enhance my skills on the Azure side. So I just started learning this Azure administration, and I have coding knowledge also. I develop bash scripts and other things, Python scripts also.
Okay, see, okay, that's fine. So what you can do is, here also the SAP HANA can be hosted in two ways. One is as a IaaS, like building the VMs, installing the application and hosting it. And other way also you can host the SAP as a PaaS. So SAP HANA database or the SAP HANA is directly available as a PaaS, where you can directly create the service and you can manage it. So that is one way you can be in your career. And also if you are interested in a bit on developing and you want to slightly change your track as well, then you can go accordingly. Like if you wish to be an Azure DevOps, then you can learn 104 plus 400. So 104 will give you the insight like how to build your infrastructure in cloud, how to manage it. And AZ-400, which talks about the DevOps content, then you can choose accordingly. And with 104 also you'll get an idea like how you can build your infrastructure, and if you want to host your SAP on the Azure platform, you can learn that as well. Okay, and also like if you want to create a database in SAP HANA directly as a PaaS service, you can create it. Anyways, the PaaS services will be discussing only on the SQL database, but you'll get an idea. So once the HANA database is created, from there you know how to manage it. So that is also another approach to host your services, and also you can be in your platform, or slightly you can add up additional things like DevOps also you can do.
Yeah, that is what I was looking for. Thank you.
Yeah. So what will happen here, right? So now when you say the cloud, so how it will be built, we'll have a lot of questions, right? So in the upcoming slide, we'll be discussing types of cloud services. They will get an idea like what are the ways you can host your services as infrastructure or as a platform or even as a software as a service. So accordingly, you will be fulfilling your required or you will be fulfilling your requirements to host your services. Yeah. So this is about the certification track. So when you ask about the prerequisites, right? So now, if I want to learn Azure administration and I want to start my career as Azure admin. Okay, so there are some prerequisites which you want to know, right? Prerequisites in the sense like if you want to become an Azure administrator, let's take example, you're a fresher, like you just completed your graduation, now you're seeking your career as a cloud admin, or you have some infrastructure experience like working as a network engineer or security or Windows or Linux or virtualization or storage, right? And now you want to start your career as Azure admin. Or you are from technical from a different domain, like we just discussed, like you're from SAP background, now you want to start your career as Azure admin, or any other background you want to start as a Azure admin, or if you are from a non-technical background, right? Yes, AZ-104 is the right track to start your career as a cloud administrator in Azure. Okay, but still, you should be having some prerequisites knowledge. So what are the prerequisites? You should be knowing managing the operating system. So here we'll be creating the Windows or Linux machine. So you should be knowing like how to connect and how to log in. Okay. And if you don't know the OS administration of Linux or Windows, you should learn it. Okay, because you'll be getting a requirement to create the services like Windows Server, Linux Server, and you'll be handing over to the requester. And if he's not able to connect or reach, right? So you should have some knowledge where you can handle such requests as well. And also, if you are interested to learn in depth, you can do that also. Okay, I'm not saying that I have only basic thing, but still, the base requirement should be you should be knowing it, so that will help you. Okay, that is one thing. And also you should be knowing about the virtualization. So whatever the services we host in the cloud, like compute, storage, network, everything is virtualized. But here we will not be touching their physical hardware, or we will not be touching the hypervisor to configure and work, right? So basically, different types of cloud services like IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS, the services will be spent on a back end. And there will be an agreement where what vendor is going to take care and what we are going to take care, right? So here you should be knowing about the virtualization concept. What is virtualization? What is virtual machine? What is virtual NIC? What is virtual disk? Right. So some idea about that. So that will help you. Suppose if you have expertise level in that, that's fine. Okay. Here we are not configuring any hypervisor. We are not configuring any physical server hardware or storage or network devices. Okay. Yeah, and also you should be knowing about the basics of networking. What is IP addressing, types of IP addressing, what is subnetting, right? So what are the network devices, how that will help. So this information you should be knowing. And also you should be knowing about the VPN, what is VPN, firewall, what is encryption, right? So how this works. So you should have an idea. So whenever we say VPN, so you should know what is VPN and how it will be used in real time. Then you will be understanding in Azure how do you build a VPN to connect your on-prem infrastructure to Azure for secure and private access, or from your individual computer. And also you should be knowing some other concepts like AD, DNS, and backup recovery, disaster recovery, right? So why we need this, and what is the use of these services, how that will help in your business, right? So you should be knowing details about this. So these are the prerequisites. So along with the course, if you don't know, please learn. So I'll share some link when you can brush up from there. Okay. Any questions so far on the prerequisites part? Okay. So now the next question is like, okay, if I learn this course, what will be the next thing, right? So what will be my day-to-day activity? So basically, once you are an Azure admin, right? So wherein you'll be handling the end user request, right? So if a developer want to host this application, you require the infrastructure, he'll get in touch with you, asking to create some services like create a virtual machine, network, storage, or whatever, right? So you take the end user request and you will start working on this to configure the services on your end. In Azure or in the cloud, you'll be managing the entire IT lifecycle model, right? Like developing, creating the services, developing the application, testing the application, and hosting the application as and when required, upgrading or updating, and whenever you don't require the service anymore, decommissioning, right? So entire IT lifecycle model you'll be managing in the cloud. So you'll be taking the end user request to create the services in the cloud, like compute, storage, network, or any other services. And also you'll be monitoring the services which is running on the cloud, whether it is underutilized or over provisioned. Accordingly, you will fine tune that. Okay. And also sometime we'll be coordinating with the other team members, like your on-prem engineers or so on, or even with the vendor to have your application up and running and troubleshoot or manage things. Okay. And what are the ways you can manage your Azure? So there are two ways you can manage your Azure. One is through the graphical user interface through the browser or through the application. And second one through the command line through PowerShell or Azure CLI. Okay. So these are the ways where you'll be managing your Azure. As a successful cloud administrator, wherein you will be taking care of the OS, or in the sense the operating system running on the cloud. Anyways, everything running on the cloud is virtualized environment, right? Yeah. So this will be your cloud admin role. Any questions on this? Okay, today we just hold on here. I plan to show some demo because my account got disabled. So I'm not able to show the practical lab today. Anyways, in the upcoming sessions, so we'll be seeing the practical part as well. Okay, so far, any questions, any doubts?
No, Ravi.
Okay, so please share your phone number and email ID to the Visualpath admin in the chat box. So hope you can see the message from Visualpath administrator. So please share your details. So the upcoming meeting details and the materials will be shared with your contact details. Okay, so today, sorry, I was not able to show you. Otherwise, I would have shown you like, okay, I'll show you how to log into the Azure portal. Portal.azure.com is a URL, right? So once you hit this URL, then you can sign in with your credentials. Okay, so this is how your lab will be running. So once you create your account, you will be connecting with your account and you will be managing it. Okay, so now here, any services you want to create, you can select the service and you can create it. So since my subscription is disabled, otherwise I would have shown you creating a VM as an example, so that you get an idea, like once you create it, like how to create the service and how to connect. And also our lab runs in the same way. We discuss the theory concepts, then we'll come to the services. I'll show you how to deploy the service, and even you can practice from your end. And once we complete the core services like compute, storage, network, then I'll be giving you the lab scenarios. So understand the lab scenario and you can try building the lab on your environment so that you'll have a hands-on experience. Okay, so here the theory concepts plus your hands-on experience will give you the good amount of knowledge to manage and administer your cloud services in Azure. Okay, so for now, if you have any doubt, any questions, please let me know so I can help you out with your technical queries. Okay, all right then. So today we just hold on here. So we'll connect in the upcoming classes and we will discuss further on this.
Ravi, when is the batch starting? How many hours per day?
Yeah, so the training will be 1 hour a day. So Monday to Friday. So in a week, we'll be covering 5 hours.
Okay, thank you. What will be the timing?
Timings, probably it will be from 7 to 8.
Sorry, it will be 7 p.m. Is it right?
AM, 7 a.m. IST.
7 a.m. Okay.
Nice. Ravi, only admin is enough to get a job.
Even that depends upon the job profile also, no? So admin content is very much like the content is very high, right? So with this also get a job, and additionally you may need to add few services. That's it.
Like you mean DevOps?
DevOps is completely a different track now, wherein where you have to learn many services in that as well. So if you learn that also, you get a very good job. So Azure Administrator is also having very good scope. Azure DevOps is also having very good scope in the market. You can have it. If you're interested in DevOps, you can learn that as well.
Ravi, one last question. Okay. So instead of DevOps, they always say that it's a Azure DevOps. So what is the actual difference between normal DevOps and Azure DevOps?
See, DevOps in the sense it's your development and operations, right? So when you do it in on-prem, so that we call as a regular DevOps. Okay, the same services which you also related services when you host in a cloud, right? And so in Azure, so we call it as Azure DevOps. That's it. The services you'll be creating and managing in the cloud.
Okay. So any example of Azure DevOps?
See, Azure DevOps in the sense, like let's take example, you're using Azure code repository to keep your code, okay, and also you run your services in Azure or any other cloud, right? And you're connecting this to using the Azure CI/CD pipeline, right? Then what will happen? You are using the cloud services in Azure, right? So that is what is the Azure DevOps here. In the sense, the DevOps, when you see the services, whatever you're going to create and use, those services will be hosted on the Azure cloud. When you say a regular DevOps, those services will be hosted in your local environment, your on-prem, we can say. The concepts are same. Like when you say a Windows server administration, so running Windows Server in your on-prem and running in the cloud is the same. But building and managing in the cloud, you will not be doing it. But in on-prem, you will be managing of physical hardware, the hypervisor, everything. Got it, no? So same way, AWS also get a DevOps, AWS DevOps, in the sense, the services which you host in AWS to manage your DevOps operations, no? That we call as AWS DevOps.
Okay. Thank you.
Which is good in market, AWS or Azure, Ravi?
See, in market, AWS and Azure both are doing good with respect to the cloud services, and Google is also a bit okay. So yes, you can learn any of this, you can manage it. See, if you know one cloud, you can manage the other cloud. Only thing is the UI and the features and the costing will vary. Apart from that, like when you say IaaS, SaaS or PaaS or DevOps, right? The concepts are same. The services name may vary. So here we call it as a S3 in AWS. In Azure, we call it as an blob storage. There you call it as a EC2 instance. Here we call it as a virtual machine. So that's it. Okay. When you see in the job, Azure, AWS, both are doing good. If you're good in one cloud, you can manage the other cloud. Only thing you have to brush up on the other cloud services part. Yeah. Any other questions?
Do we need Linux admin and Python for this to learn?
Sorry, what do you require?
Do we need Linux admin and Python to learn this admin?
No, not required. Python programming language and all. But still, if you want to manage your work in an automated way, or when you want to run a bulk operations, you require a scripting language knowledge. Okay. See here, we'll not manage any applications running inside your OS and all. will be managing only the infrastructure. To create and manage infrastructure, if you have the coding language for that, that's fine. Yeah. Any other questions?
No, Ravi, not from my end.
Okay. All right then. So we'll connect in the upcoming class and we'll discuss further. So please share your phone number and email ID if you have not shared to the Visualpath admin in the chat box. Okay. Thank you guys. Thanks for your time. Appreciate that. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thanks, Ravi. Thanks for your time. Okay, thank you.